Welcome to B2B Commerce Corner. Commerce Corner is a sub-series of the E-Commerce Edge podcast discussing all things B2B commerce through the lens of agencies, consultants, merchants, and more. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the E-Commerce Edge podcast. I have another incredible guest to introduce to you today. I would love to welcome Kristin SAVILIA from JOOR to the podcast. Welcome, Kristin.
Jason, thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure to have you along for the ride today. And we were talking about you're in New York right now, and you said it's pretty bloody cold there right now, and snow's on the way.
Snow is on the way, single digits this morning. So yes,
love it. But you're in the heart of the business land of New York. You're close to Gary Vee and a whole bunch of people that play in this space. So it's New York. I haven't been. I have had many friends who have visited New York. I'm originally from the West Coast of the United States in California. I lived in New Zealand for almost 30 years. Now live in Mexico. But definitely New York's on my bucket list. You'd recommend it?
Highly. It is the best city. It's just so integrated with so many different types of people and just the best attraction. So I'm a big fan of my city for sure.
Love it. And you are the CEO of JOOR, which is a B2B e-commerce marketplace and commerce technology platform provider. You have been there for almost 8 years. And what drew you? But before that, Exo Group, president, local marketplace. You've been in retail, you've been in business, you've been in commerce for a long time. Before that, linens and things. You've been in this space for a very long time. What drew you to this industry in the first place? Because we all have our own unique routes. Because it's only recently that you've even been able to go to university and learn e-commerce. Most of us that have been in this industry for a long time, there was no traditional channel that we came through. Some of us came from a creative background, some came from a logistics background, some came from a business background or marketing, or there's so many routes into this industry. What was yours?
Totally. Merchant. I graduated college and started in the Macy's executive training program a very long time ago. And I actually worked my way up to be a buyer at Macy's, buying several departments. But what attracted me to the industry was that I was at the Knot as the president running a local marketplace there. And I was approached by the board of directors of JOOR, who was looking to bring in a CEO that could grow and scale the business. And they liked that I had that fashion background. I had a tech background running the marketplace at the Knot. And when I went to the industry, this was around 2016, I went to the industry and asked my colleagues who were still buyers or brands in the industry how they were doing wholesale buying and selling. They described to me the exact same process that I used in 1999 as a buyer at Macy's. Unchanged, Jason. It was Excel spreadsheets and paper line sheets. So that validated for me, along with a demo of the product, where I felt, wow, I would have used this if I were a buyer back then, that this really was a platform that had enormous opportunity.
And it's interesting you say that, because even DC 360, they predicted late last year, they predicted that by the end of 2024, which we're now in 2025, that there would be over 1,000 dedicated B2B and wholesale marketplaces operating worldwide.
Yeah.
So this is definitely not a new idea, in the sense that everybody in the wholesale world seems like they're getting religion about dedicated wholesale marketplaces, and they are still the fastest growing channel in almost every single wholesale vertical. You guys specifically play in the fashion and luxury verticals of B2B wholesale. And I guess we could compare you a little bit to a Fair or some of the other wholesale marketplaces that are out there. But you, as I understand it, and to be fair, I've never worked directly with JOOR, so I have to go by what's on the tin, so to speak. And based on what some of my clients have said to me about the platform, you are just as much of an operational platform as you are a pure marketplace like Amazon Business.
Right.
You can come in and you can help operationalize digital wholesale sales on behalf of manufacturers and distributors, so you can play a much larger role in their business than just another sales channel for them.
Absolutely. We're a platform, and I also call us an ecosystem. We have certain segments. So enablement, which is our SaaS platform, actually is the ability to digitize wholesale buying and selling entirely. Order writing, visual virtual showrooms, 360 imagery that you can integrate. So it allows you to have a digital footprint 24/7, 365 days a year of your showroom or of your trade show booth is another way of looking at it. But we also have a product called JOOR Discover, which is our prospecting tool. What differentiates JOOR from folks like Fair and others are actually two things. The first one being that we are about discerning brands and retailers. So starting out in the luxury space, we work our way all the way down to elevated contemporary space. Our brands very much, therefore, our system is connections based because you have to approve as a brand the retailers that shop you. So it's not an open marketplace by design. Because when you think about our audience, Kate Spade, Tory Burch, that they don't want to share their products in showrooms, which are really 6 to 9 months in advance of hitting selling floors, with the world. So they very much are discerning. The other big differentiator is that I almost don't love the word marketplace for us, only because we have a very strong repeat business, which is not common in a lot of marketplaces. So for example, our overall repeat business rate on the platform, because we have the enablement side, is in the high 90s. But a new customer, brand and retailer meeting on JOOR, have a 78% repeat business rate. That is unheard of in the B2B space.
Wow. And on the procurement side, so let's say I'm a buyer like you were inside Macy's. Let's say I'm a buyer, and let's say I work in an e-procurement system. Let's say I'm using a Jagger, or I'm using a Coupa, or I'm using some sort of e-procurement module in my ERP or something like that, and I'm generating my POs. Do you also provide digital access points other than the JOOR interface? As a buyer, can I basically connect to the JOOR platform via API, pull down the catalogs, and then effectively try to automate my process of buying through the JOOR platform as a procurement specialist?
That is exactly what we do. So we are pre-integrated with 100 ERP solutions globally.
Wow.
And it is all seamless. That is the real win here. So brands that join JOOR integrate with their ERP. We are the exact point where ERP is cut off and the retailer systems don't take over yet, is where JOOR digitizes and connects. So it's a process that's usually manual with Excel and line sheets and paper, and you're traveling. So we have iPad apps that accommodate this, but we make the supply chain, that whole process, 100% digital by being agnostic in the middle. We don't favor anybody on either side. We plug into everybody, and you can use JOOR to keep a seamless digital buying process.
Wow. And so we can think of you almost like a punch out and EDI system combined with a two-sided marketplace capability in the middle, plus operational and order management capability for the brands that need that. Now, obviously, there are some brands that already have that in-house. They've got an OMS, or they've got a WMS, they've got ERPs, they've got all that stuff in-house. So sometimes I'm guessing they don't necessarily need your entire operational suite. And sometimes maybe they just want access to your buyers. But in some cases where maybe they are going digital for the first time as a supplier, they're going, geez, we don't know where to begin. We not only need to source new buyers, but we also need to be able to operationalize those buyers into our business in a seamless way to make it easier for us to fulfill and easier for them to buy. And that's where your technology suite, your SaaS platform, comes into play. And so they can choose to engage with you on a number of different levels.
Correct. The majority of the audience, believe it or not, is the SaaS platform. That is what they just need help. And you guys talk about this all the time, but they need help with B2B. So we're been around 15 years. So we got in very early into places. LVMH uses us, Richemont uses us a lot, Tapestry uses us. We got in early, so they're using us for that part, and that's how we started. The JOOR Discover piece came later, and I should also mention, we also have payments on the platform, so you can do it all on JOOR. Most popular is Enable. Second most popular, usually bundled into that, is Discover, and then third most popular would be Pay.
And when customers first come to you for the very first time and they're saying, we're drowning here, we're doing everything manually, we're trying to process orders via CSVs that get emailed to our reps and customer service, and we're taking phone calls and live chats and everything else, this is just, we're drowning here.
Yep.
Is it a scenario where you come in and you say, let us assess where you're at on your digital journey, and let's start plugging in or road mapping you out of this hell that you're in to a place of, if not nirvana, then definitely digital enablement at scale.
Yes, we take a very consultative approach. As a global company, we have perspectives from all around the world and really best practices from thousands upon thousands of brands. So we're able to use that knowledge to guide people on their journey. Our newest audience, actually, Jason, which is exciting to us, is the D2C, or formerly known as D2C audience.
Yes.
They are, the most recent would be Fabletics has joined us, is doing very well with us. These are very well-established brands who have never been in wholesale and who are realizing that the cost of D2C when it comes to acquisition is quite high.
It's going up and to the right.
That wholesale is actually a very affordable way when you do it with the right partners. So we've been able to teach and help Fabletics enter wholesale, not from ground zero, but to hit the ground running with all of our learnings. It's been very consultative, and we've walked them through the features that make the most sense, and now have them using it all the way through to JOOR Discover, and they're using JOOR Pay. So they're actually using the full suite at JOOR.
Turnkey wholesale operations for a D2C brand. And it sounds like you're an advocate of the saying that I have been preaching as for years, especially since the beginning of COVID, that D2C is a channel. It is not a business model. Exactly. And the reality is, if you look at the D2C darlings, you can even look at Nike, vaunted Nike, who has had to backpedal their D2C aspirations. They have admitted that they made the mistake of closing so many wholesale customer doors that their sales fell off a cliff and their CEO got replaced. And, we look at Allbirds, and we look at 8 Sleep, and we look at Casper, and we look at Peloton, we look at some of the D2C darlings that sprang up during COVID in particular, that were staunchly anti-wholesale. They were staunchly anti-B2B, and they have had to all backpedal now and establish strong wholesale distribution relationships. Allbirds famously have taken on now a master distributor in Europe to try to save themselves. They're 98.8% down their share price since IPO. So I feel like these major D2C brands that everybody's heard of, they're the canary in the D2C coal mine. And to me, I've been preaching, you need to diversify your channel mix. There are industries, there are categories, there are verticals, there are markets, there are locations that you will, even if you spent $1 billion on D2C, there are certain customers that you will never have access to because they have a preferred supplier of those items in those categories. And if you're not selling via those channels, you simply will not be able to sell to those customers. And so I feel like this D2C, adding the wholesale channel, or strategic wholesale, as I like to call it, I feel like this discussion is just getting started. What about you?
Oh, that's how I feel. And we're seeing the inbound alone, never mind outbound, the inbound activity, and I can't share others who haven't signed yet, but soon, has been enormous. It's probably been our biggest growth channel of those guys coming to us. Internally at JOOR, we have this phrase, our acronym DDD, diverse distribution dummy.
Yes.
You need to diversify your distribution. It's a no-brainer to those in the space like us. And to your point, I've been preaching it for many years, but this seems to be the year that it is coming to fruition, that people are realizing what we can do and why we just start at ground zero. When you're a vertical SaaS like we are, our audience is already built up there for you. So plugging into us puts you where the buying is happening. Why would you create your own platform over here or join a smaller platform that doesn't have the activity when the action is here? You have buyers logging in who are merchandising across assortment. And if there's 6 brands in here and the 7th brand somewhere else, you're going to be secondary in their selection of goods. So we have a real incentive and built-in network effect here of getting brands to join us.
And how important are the small independent designers to you guys as a platform? Because it would seem, if let's say I'm a fresh graduate from design school or something like that, I'm a visionary, I'm creating these things, my clothes are finally starting to get onto the runway, I'm finally starting to build a little bit of a name for myself, but I just don't have the relationships in the industry to get my product and my brand into these retail doors. And many of these retailers, they've got their own digital storefronts that they're selling to the consumer as well. And so I want access to that market as well.
Right.
But if I don't know where to start and I don't have any existing relationships in the industry, it feels almost like I would feel without a platform like yours, I would feel almost completely locked out. I would feel like I was fighting an uphill battle of even getting onto the radar of the buyers.
Correct.
Without a platform like yours that already has those connections into
Correct.
industry.
And what we're able to really teach those guys is they all come in wanting to be at Neiman Marcus or Selfridges, which are clients of ours, but we level set them. You're not going to get in those doors on day one. But we have all of these independent retailers on JOOR, 640,000 buyers that use JOOR actively, that have great stores, right? A bunch of stores here in New York, stores in London, Paris, that get you your start to get noticed. So we're really good at, with our experience, level setting expectations and helping them grow their business with us. And the choice really is going to Google, like you said, and trying to find all these stores, or coming into JOOR Discover and seeing very cleanly that we already have the data on all these stores and you can easily find where you belong.
And on the flip side, if let's say I own a small boutique and a small curated boutique that I have maybe I'm style focused, maybe I'm focused on boho, or maybe I'm focused on modern, or I'm focused on business, or I'm focused on whatever it is. And maybe I have one store, maybe I have two, maybe I have three stores. By the same token, I wouldn't necessarily know all of the designers and all of the labels and everything else that exists out there. It's hard for me to go out and even procure established relationships with these designers and suppliers without a platform like yours to centralize the discovery process for me to outfit my boutique and curate my boutique with the types of items that I love and I think my customers will love. And I'm doing the curation on their behalf. So they know they come into my shop. I've done all the hard work for them. I'm kitting them out. Maybe even they're on a regular call list where when something new comes in that I think is going to suit them, I'm going to reach out to them on WhatsApp and say, hey, look, I've got this new piece in store that feels like it would just suit you down to the ground. Do you want me to set your size aside so you can come in and try it on and see what you think? It feels like that it would be so hard as an owner like that to go out and try to find all the brands that were potentially a good fit for your boutique.
Yeah, they used to try to use trade shows, but even that was hard in manual.
So especially during COVID when trade shows stopped.
Yeah, that is exactly the use case that JOOR is famous for now. And what I want to mention to you is that a couple of things. One, JOOR recently broke the $100 billion mark in wholesale GMV processed on the platform. 13 billion of that was last year alone of processed GMV. But an interesting point is in 2019, about 47% of that GMV came from specialty independent retailers. In 2024, 50% of that GMV came from independent specialty retailers. And it's not because the market shrunk. It's literally the market's still growing, but they've grown faster, way faster than the department store segment, which is why also I try to guide people. There is strength in numbers. Don't always think that the department store is your only way into being known. These independent retailers are the way. But yes, they come to us now looking for the newest, looking for brands that match their aesthetic. We, at our heart, are a data company that have a software platform on top of us. And the data can lead to, obviously, really great selection and merchandising, but also our data speaks to the trends as well. We are 6 to 9 months ahead of when items hit the selling floor. So if you want to know what's going to be hot in future seasons, nobody gets it more right than JOOR does, because we get it from actual purchase orders 9 months prior, not just from department stores, but from all of the global independent retailers as well.
And it feels like you guys are raging against the machine of fast fashion in the sense that, look, okay, that's fine. Shein's great. All these fast fashion brands are fantastic. That's great. If you want to wear something 3 times and throw it away, that's your business. But it feels the brands that you work with, that there is a curation element, not only on the buy side, but the sell side, the brand side and the buy side. It feels like that you are curating against fast fashion in the sense that these are well-known brands. These are oftentimes luxury brands. These are brands that they create in many instances timeless pieces that are not meant to be worn 3 times and thrown away. They're timeless pieces that you might have in your wardrobe for years because they are so fashion forward, they're well-known, so recognized, and they're setting the trend. They're not following the trend, they're setting the trend. And as a result of that, it feels you guys are facilitating a focus on quality, on value, on something that is more, God, I almost hate this word, but something that's a little bit more sustainable in nature.
Absolutely. I mean, the product itself is discerning brands and retailers. So yes, it's a higher level than that's the customer that they're serving. But in our ethos is a very important word here that we use for JOOR and our values, which is trust. We are building trusted relationships, which is why it's not the connection transactional marketplace. It is the trusted relationship. Yes, we do a heck of a lot of transactions, as I dictated, with 13 billion last year alone. But the reason we have a 78% repeat business rate from new customers meeting is because of the relationship that's been built. So not only is the product itself higher quality, but it's a trusted relationship between the two to deliver with quality to each other.
And what do you see other categories that you go, hey, we've nailed this fashion and luxury, we've nailed these, maybe we've nailed maybe some aspirational homewares or whatever it is that you're slowly starting to dominate more. What are some of the other categories that you see internally that you say, hey, we see this as very adjacent, low-hanging fruit with a similar sort of buying demographic that we think we can service these new markets at a level that isn't happening in the market today? Is there any low-hanging fruit that you see out there?
Right now, we're definitely staying focused on our verticals. There's a lot of growth opportunity here with fashion. We do apparel, accessories, shoes. We've expanded into sport because sports become fashion, as you can imagine.
Of course, activewear, the famous activewear video.
Right, Fabletics, Beyond Yoga, all on
Lululemon, all that.
Yeah, all on JOOR because we've expanded into that. But when ready, I think the category that's an adjacency that makes sense will be beauty. Beauty is definitely bought by similar groups that the boutique stores in particular would carry the fashion and then the beauty next to it. We already have all the accessories, all the handbags, all that. We will never, like other competitors have done, go into food or appliances. No one else can do that better than me. We're going to stay industrial because it's about building that network. It's not technology. And when people think they're going to disrupt us, that's what always makes me smile. There's a lot of big players out there who are like, we're getting into B2B. We're going to take JOOR's business. And the reason that none of them do is because they're missing the key element here, which is that it's the network. When you build a network as strong as we do, people don't want to leave that network because that's the simplicity of our marketplace. It's not just the technology.
Now, one of the challenges that I see in strategic wholesale is fulfillment, logistics, 3PLs, all that sort of stuff. So do you guys already provide or have ambitions to provide fulfillment services, warehousing services, basically 3PL, 4PL
Absolutely.
services?
I am very interested in that space through an integration of some sort. I don't want to take it on myself, but I see and get asked all the time. Because one of the key functions of JOOR Discover, so you understand, is the ability using data to tell you as a brand which market opportunities you're missing because brands like you are doing really well in that market. And it's great that I can do that. But if they don't have the fulfillment capabilities to go into Paris or Madrid or wherever, then they're limited. And I'm right now not providing an answer to that problem. So in our longer term vision for JOOR, I see a partnership in our future, or partnerships, plural, to more seamlessly allow expansion that isn't just a relationship expansion, but allows you to logistics and fulfill things properly.
And is JOOR currently a global platform, meaning that I'm connecting suppliers in Milan to boutique buyers in New York and the reverse? Are we a global marketplace in that sense?
We're the largest global marketplace for fashion. We do 45% of our business in EMEA, 45% of our business in North America, and 10% of our business in APAC. We are, of the fashion folks, we're the only ones who are truly luxury, elevated, contemporary, but B, we're the only global player in this space that has such a penetration throughout the globe. We had a transaction in 152 countries last year, including Turks and Caicos. So we are everywhere.
Wow, impressive. Let's talk politics. Have to go there. Obviously, Donald Trump just about ready to get inaugurated.
Yep.
Obviously, talking tariffs, talking tough, talking rebuilding America as a manufacturing powerhouse for the world, trying to make sure that there's at least as much of a level playing field internationally as possible, and trying to walk loudly and carry a big stick. How do you see that coming to fruition and affecting your industry? Do you see that having a massive impact?
I think it's going to have an impact. I think that the tariffs are probably not going to be great. I think the plan is a lot more work than what is going to be implemented. I have concerns for sure. I'm waiting to see, and again, we get an early read on whether people are going to start stockpiling. You're hearing rumors of it. I haven't seen it in the GMV yet, but I will see it in the GMV because that's where it reflects. I'm ahead of the scale here on whether people will in fact be concerned about the rates and the push. Look, I'm all for America too. I think all Americans are for America. But as a global leader in a global economy, I think that doing it correctly, not all things can be produced in America at a rate that's going to be good for our customers.
Makes sense. What technically, apart from category expansion and relationship expansion, what is on your radar for the technology expansion side of things? What's on your roadmap from a technical perspective?
Like many people, I've been in the AI space operationally for over 18 months, but the AI space for my consumers is coming in 2025. So think about it right now. Not that it's hard work, but you do come to JOOR and you put in filters and you search for things. I have enough data now that I should just be presenting it to you. And that's what we're working towards, presenting assortment gaps from a buyer perspective, presenting opportunities from a retailer perspective, a brand perspective. But what I'm most excited about really is that I feel like department stores, especially with their marketplace initiative, the marketplace extensions, this is consumer marketplaces, are starting to all look the same and be like a whole bunch of Amazons, which Amazon's great, but how many of those do we need? And being a merchant at heart from my Macy's buyer days, I believe the customer still likes merchandise assortments, still likes curation. And I believe that we're going to have the ability to really help independent retailers own the curation space. And my dream is that with all my data, I want, and this dream is going to happen this year, I want a retailer in Paris, for example, a small boutique, to be able to go to JOOR and say, give me items that no one within a 50-mile radius is carrying that fit my aesthetic at my store. And I'm going to say, here are some new brands you never heard of that would do really well because they're a lot like the brands that you carry, right? And allow them to differentiate and introduce new brands and be different than everybody else out there. So that is what you're going to be seeing from JOOR in 2025. And I'm very bullish and excited about what it's going to do for the industry.
Powerful stuff. Do you see a world where JOOR plays a more important role in cross supply chain visibility? And let me describe what I mean by that. To where your buyers will share with you inventory, it will send you like daily on a cron, their inventory updates on the SKUs that they hold that they've bought through you, so that you can understand sell-through rates, momentum, ranges that are selling, sizes that are selling, colors that are selling, so that you, for example, on their behalf, could automate the indent ordering process and provide better forecasting for the suppliers on the supply side, so that there's more cross supply chain visibility, so that it makes everybody more efficient. It prevents stock out. It helps the suppliers to understand which styles and sizes and colors are moving the fastest. Because without that, it feels like until I receive a new order, a replenishment order, I don't even know it's coming. I don't even know it's likely to be coming until it hits. Correct. And then I've got to scramble to try to, if I'm working with contract manufacturers, I'm trying to scramble to get replenishment done before the season ends or whatever it might be. It feels like you have the data sources needed to bring more transparency to the supply chain for both buyer and seller.
Yeah, I have the sell-in data and I have all the brand's inventory levels by warehouse. So I have powerful data. Sell-through data is definitely something I'm super excited about and want to accomplish. I will not do it alone. There are players out there doing it. So once again, it's about integrating and finding the right partners. There's no single partner covering it globally. So I know who's out there. And yes, there are ideas of integration and really doing the B2B2C idea of bringing that in. Because right now, we're built for reorders as well. 36% of our GMV are reorders. But
Wow.
to your point, I'm not predicting those. It's not like I'm saying it's time to reorder. But because I have all the inventory levels of the brands, the retailers that purchase come back and order more of it. And it's readily available in JOOR with inventory levels live, real time. So we had the mechanism for reorder, but I've always dreamed of the sell-through. And really, it's not just department store sell-through. That's easier to capture because there's lots of them. The real area that I want to get is the sell-through of the independent retailers, because that's where brands are also running blind for the most part. Not a lot of
Totally
out there.
Amazing stuff. And how do you guys make your money? So you've got multiple elements to your business. You've got the SaaS platform, and I'm guessing you have a SaaS platform, like a monthly subscription fee, like any SaaS platform. But then you've also got, I guess you must clip the ticket on each transaction that flows through the platform like a traditional marketplace. So it feels like you've got multiple revenue streams as the model.
So it's brands that pay us predominantly, and it is a SaaS-based license fee for users, meaning actual sellers that sell the product. So we have brands paying much higher because they have a lot of a huge team, or smaller brands that have one or two people selling. That's the core charging. If you use JOOR Pay, we charge a transaction fee. So we don't charge a transaction fee on everything, but JOOR Pay has a fee to cover the fees of it, but it's an embedded payment and all, and it works out for you. But on the retail side, we just charge for integrations. Marcus is our official partner, Selfridges, Printemps, Harrods, ShopBop. They all are paying clients because they have a very expansive integration with us to make it more seamless. But the typical independent retailer does not pay us. They are the recipient or the shopper of the brand who pays for these beautiful virtual showrooms and the ability to meet new customers.
Just out of personal interest, do you have any relationships with Palacio Era or Liverpool in Mexico? What kind of retail relationships do you have in LATAM that I might recognize now that I'm living in Mexico?
Non-officially, although Liverpool does purchase from us. I've seen them on the site. So remember, you don't have to have an official relationship. Every retailer uses JOOR because it's brand driven. If you buy from that brand and that brand is using JOOR as their showroom, those retailers come in and shop you. So I've seen Liverpool before. In Spain, you have El Corte Inglés. Even though they're not officially a partner, they do a heck of a lot of business with us. Here in the States, Nordstrom and Saks are not official partners. They're number 1 and 2 in shopping off of JOOR because of the brands that we have. We don't have to have official partners on the retail side. It's to their advantage to be our partner because they're more integrated and the transfer of data is more seamless. But it doesn't matter to us. We're more brand driven from a monetization standpoint.
Wow. Incredible. And what are you looking forward to in terms of, do you think that the biggest opportunity for JOOR in terms of onboarding new both buyers and sellers, do you think that it is that recognition by formerly D2C only brands? Do you think that's where you're going to see the most growth opportunities over the next 12, 24 months? Do you think it's those D2C brands that realize, my God, this is just an impossible growth and scaling challenge that we have with sky high and rising CAC? Customer retention is difficult. Shipping 1 and 2 parcels is difficult. But then if we take on strategic wholesale, then we've got to also figure out how to ship cartons, pallets, and containers instead of just individual parcels. And so oftentimes operationally, even if the actual sales and order orchestration piece is managed by you, it's a totally different mindset shift. It's a team shift. It's a capability shift within the business to be able to have named account managers and be able to treat wholesale with the same love and respect and attention that their D2C channels get.
Correct.
Taking on strategic wholesale requires a similar level of commitment to do it right.
Correct.
And do you feel that growth opportunity is mostly represented by D2C brands getting wholesale religion?
Yes, absolutely. We have that as a big growth number for us next year. We have a very large list of people we are approaching. We'll be having case studies soon out based on our Fabletics success. But I see it as an enormous opportunity. And I think that they are starting to get religion. The amount of inbound coming in that space, a year ago, I couldn't convince any of them that wholesale was a channel that made sense. So it feels like what the pandemic did for us. Pre-pandemic, I struggled to get brands to adopt enablement and say, hey, how about a digital showroom? Like they just, no, I have to go, I have to fly, I have to be there. And the pandemic hit, and overnight, our inbound just skyrocketed. We're seeing a similar feeling, and there's no pandemic, thank goodness, but of getting the religion of this space. And they are coming inbound in droves to JOOR for, if you're a fashion and men's, women's, children's, we're the place that people are coming in order to digitize.
And what is their biggest, like D2C brands specifically, what are their biggest concerns about strategic wholesale? Is it brand dilution, margin erosion? What are the things that they're coming to you and they're saying, yeah, I see this looks like a really great opportunity to de-risk my business and to increase my distribution and my brand seeding in the market, but XYZ gives me pause. What are the biggest?
Yeah, it's not margin because they're starting to see that the margins actually, the cost of acquisition is actually,
the net margin is the same.
But exactly, but it's brand dilution. But when I was able to show them that our tools are so regionalized that you can avoid putting your product in a store that's near a store you have. So if you have a D2C store in a certain town, then don't sell your product to the independent retailers there. And they were like, yes. Oh, and you can't just go to Google and get that easily because these independent retailers do not have a lot of information about themselves public, right? No. We got it from them by being in our network for 15 years. We were able to really alleviate that and make them realize that they control the ability to make this plus business based on distribution. Put it where you don't have stores. It's a very simple model.
Yeah, fill in the gaps.
All the gaps. And like I said, with the AI stuff that we have coming, I want to be able to say, which I think is going to be a big growth opportunity, I want to be able to give them, and all these brands like you are doing really well in these places. Your price point, your type of brand, your type of product is doing very well on these regions. Look at these regions you never even thought of, right?
Wow.
There's a lot we're going to be able to bring to this industry next year at the lightning because of AI that I'm very excited about.
And I think even for those, even if they've already got a store estate, a direct-to-consumer store estate, if, for example, let's say they don't have a store in a region, but they notice that sales start booming in a given region where they do not have a store, right, it may be worth putting a store there as well, mainly because...
Use it for the data as well. Correct. Test it.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's very rare that one of your retail partners is going to carry your entire range. And so oftentimes you might need to put a D2C store in that area to make sure you have full range representation in a given area. Right. So that those retailers can still pick and choose and curate the products they want to carry. But to have full representation in a market, you may need to put an additional store there to support that.
Correct. Exactly. And that's why I keep going back to the data. Our data is behind a firewall. You can't publicly get our data because brands purposely don't want it to be seen until it's launched. So early reads and the ability to make decisions. And that's why I'm very excited about where we're heading.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. Well, listen, if people want to get a hold of you, I'll drop your LinkedIn profile as well as the JOOR link into the show notes. Other than that, if people want to chat to you and they want to learn more about the platform, how it works, how they can benefit from it, how they can benefit you through the supply side, buy side, what's the best way to get a hold of you and have that chat?
Yeah, I'm open. I love talking to industry people. So I'm Kristin at JOOR.com, Kristin at JOOR.com for a one-on-one convo. Or of course, there's tons of consultative demo requests on our website, JOOR.com. So multiple ways to reach us, LinkedIn as well, but happy to take conversations. I'm very passionate about this industry. I feel like I was born in it a very long time ago, and I just am excited to see where it's headed. Using technology, using data, but also using it because we want to get back to merchandising. giving everybody everything is overwhelming for the consumer. I know I like people to tell me what goes with what. And I think most consumers do. And I feel like we're getting away from that. And we have to use data the right way to merchandise and help bring back the art of retail. Has to come back. And I think data can help do that correctly.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Listen, now, as we come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you. I get to let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. Kristin from JOOR, what is your question for me today?
So what is it that you find most exciting about B2B going into 2025?
I am heartened and I am inspired by the fact that it feels like B2B is finally starting to get its time in the sun. There's been enough reports, there's been enough data, there's been enough cajoling, and there's been enough buyer side guns put to supplier side's heads that I can feel the tide turning. I can feel that, especially with my increasing work with the B2B, the B2B e-commerce association, and the number of new members that I see coming into that and getting trained on B2B and the digital B2B understanding and capabilities. And there was for a long time real resistance to digitalization of the sales force, so to speak. And I'm still a massive advocate of relationships in the B2B world. I'm a massive advocate for augmented relationships, not replace. I'm not an advocate of replacing relationships with machines. I'm not. I'm an advocate for augmenting those relationships and taking away crappy admin jobs away from salespeople that don't like to do admin anyway.
Yep.
And I feel like we're finally turning the corner where Forrester said last year in a report that they released just at the end of 2024 that over 71% of B2B buyers in the United States today are millennials and Gen Z.
Wow.
So the reality is the buying demographic is changing. So the seller demographic has to change. The selling approach has to change. The selling channels have to change. They have to evolve. And I feel like the conversations that I'm having with sellers and suppliers today, manufacturers and distributors and wholesalers, those conversations are getting a little bit easier as opposed to having to drag them kicking and screaming into the digital age. They're realizing, and oftentimes on the supply side, they're second and third generation family businesses in many instances. And we're now getting the third generation who are oftentimes millennials taking over the operational running of these businesses. And they're going, relationships are great, but why are we not digital native businesses? It makes no sense. If we're going to go out and we're going to win new customers in this brave new world of digital, we have to be digitally enabled right at the core of who we are. Never mind AI, like crawl, walk, run here. I get customers come to me and saying, what can we do around AI? And I'm like, do you even offer any digital sales channels or routes to market? And they're like, no. And I'm like, why don't we start there first? Because it's garbage in, garbage out with AI. And unless you are digitally enabled and digitally ready and your data is digitally ready, AI isn't going to help you.
Correct.
And it's an exciting space to be in. I absolutely love it. And I'm thankful for people like you that are equally passionate about it and enabling both buyers and sellers to do and be better.
Same. I'm glad I found this group and met you. So I'm very excited about the future. Yeah, let's do it. It's going to be an exciting year.
Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.